AI has to be somewhere working around 40% of what I do today. Whether you have 25 years of work experience, whether you have 25 days of work experience, it's about being fluidic. AI in learning and development can do much better, but unfortunately at the moment it's still at its nascent stage, and it requires a lot of human intervention. So that psyche that you create in the mindset of people, it makes them, it creates a stickiness to a brand. It creates a stickiness to the organization. Do not be 100% dependent on AI. The gray matter that we have works on a very different level. Utilize it. At the end of the day, it's not just systems and processes that make a business, but it's actually people being well coordinated, well aligned to be able to do things together.
Welcome to ValueMatrixTV, where we decode the science and poetry of HR with the help of experts who live and breathe it every day. My name is Ajay Singh, and our expert of the day is Rahul Nayar, with close to 18 years of experience in the HR industry. He is currently the head of learning and people at Tata 1MG. So, Rahul, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much. Pleasure to be here on board, and let's have a lovely conversation.
I wanted to ask you what piqued your interest in human resources? What intrigued you about the industry?
So, I think for me, I think for anybody, as a matter of fact, human resources is extremely important. Whether you're in core human resources, whether you're in operations, whether you're in IT or not, I think that's the crux that runs the business, as a matter of fact. The equations between people, the entire ecosystem that you build with your colleagues, with extended colleagues, with different functions and people across the organization. I think that is an interesting factor. And I think at the end of the day, it's not just systems and processes that make a business, but it's actually people being well coordinated, well aligned to be able to do things together. And I think that's what I kind of like about human resources. I mean, that's an interesting piece.
So, my follow up to that would be if you had to rebuild the entire learning function at your current company right now, knowing that you know everything about AI, what change or what difference would you make?
Two parts to any piece that I would actually look at. One is obviously the core physical intervention that I would have. AI, yes, is important. It's a part and parcel of any business, any function today. But somewhere I would say AI has to be somewhere working around 40% of what I do today. Very true. Most probably I might sound very averse to it, but I think 40% is where AI can actually help us today. 60% comes back to brass tacks, comes to getting your hands dirty, rolling up your sleeves and getting it done. AI is somewhere which will help us guide us through to a certain level, but the ability or the human nuances that come into the entire piece of human resources, I think that comes in from an individual or a set of people. And for me, currently as a business, AI is utilized at only at a certain level where, for example, we're looking at building an entire ecosystem of being able to select the right set of candidate based on the right set of equations that we have within the organization. AI would help us pick out, near to right set of candidates and come on board and with it. But then somewhere along the line, I think AI somewhere has to also build furthermore to get a little more human. Where today, when you interact and engage with somebody, while you're doing a first level interaction with them, or at least a casual conversation with them, there are many other things that come out from an individual that most probably AI at the moment is unable to do. And I would really happy if it comes in at some point of time and AI is able to detect, evaluate, and understand that emotional piece that comes in when you do this. Yeah, to a certain extent, AI does help, but to a larger extent, I think we still require a human intervention at the moment. Most probably, we're quite nascent on it. As a country or as an industry or as the entire technology is developing and getting further into it. But yeah, at the end of the day, what makes it much easier, what brings on, the larger mundane, monotonous activities that can be brought down to a mere 10-minute, 12-minute understanding and output, I think it's always most welcome and always good to have.
So you spoke about human intervention, and you said that AI is still in its nascent stages. So speaking of talent acquisition, that is where AI is making its most impact. When it comes to ATS screening resumes, it is speed running the hiring pipeline. So how do you see AI faring in the L&D space, which you belong to, which is your forte?
I would say yes. I think it's a partial piece that comes across. AI in learning and development can do much better, but unfortunately, at the moment, it is not. It is still at its nascent stage, and it requires a lot of human intervention. It depends on the nature of business also that you're in. For example, if I look at the IT industry, all right, anybody at the entry level or anybody at the mid or the senior level, okay, there are a lot of things in a role which are very very clearly defined, which are black and white. If I put it quote unquote. But when you come to retail, there are a lot of other factors when you're looking at people development to be more specific. From a process point of view, you'll say, oh, let's do a process training. Fantastic, we could do a process training. Let's do a product training. We could do a product training, which is very clear, very black and white, which says AI understands what Rahul says, how he does it, how he engages with the platform, how he responds to it, what is his hit ratio, how many times does he make a mistake, how many times does he have corrections, and all of that comes across over there. But what the larger piece of retail today for us, whether it is pharma retail, whether it is fashion retail, whether it is QSR, whether it is even logistics as a delivery partner, the human connect, which is the customer engagement piece, which has to tweak to every customer or every patient walking into your store, is dynamic. Because for me, as an individual, if I walk into a pharmacy today, a requirement will require a different kind of an approach from the associate towards me while he's dispensing a certain amount of medication to me. Whereas on another note or on a different day, when I walk into the same pharmacy for an entirely different requirement, which most probably could be say, hey, I just want some a digestive rather than my chronic medication. So his interaction or her interaction with me has to be totally different. And then the dynamics in it, which obviously business requires that, an associate has to talk to a customer, engage with them, ensure that they're converting them to become a long-term customer with us, to be able to cross-sell, to upsell, have that real human connect of saying, how's your day going? How would you want us to deliver your medicines? Where do you actually stay? How many other people? That requires human intervention again and again and again. And I think that should remain human, to be very true. Most probably there are some things which should not just really go off to AI, but this should be there, because then most probably will become a set of people who say that, there are 20 situations, there are 20 scenarios, and I have only 20 options to respond to those 20 scenarios. Whereas there could be 100 other ways of responding to that scenario. Simple ways of looking at contingency. We've had instances when customers have walked into the store, suddenly they felt, hey, we're feeling dizzy-headed, we're not feeling quite well. How would you actually tell somebody to be able to respond? What do you do first? Okay, first aid, fantastic. You can tell them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. Beyond it, the ability of this associate to say, hey, let me grab your number. Let me quickly, do you have a doctor? Are you a chronic patient? Do you stay nearby? Do I need to call your family? Is anybody around? If nobody is around, can I take you home? How do I take you home? Those are extremely emotionally high or high emotional quotient situations, which most probably requires a large amount of human intervention.
Very well said. So, carrying forward this human intervention theme, so when it comes to process training or processes training, we have seen AI achieve a lot. I mean, AI can actually tweak and customize trainings for the employees when it comes to processes. But when it comes to behavioral trainings, how effective it has been in your experience? Have you seen any real world change?
See, for behavioral engagements, no, I would say no, not that I have known of, that I have seen of at the moment. Because, like I said, it still requires that equation of being able to converse with a human being and to be able to have a diversified or an in-depth conversation while you're having it. So, let's say, for example, today, very simple topic which says crucial conversation, right? Which is very important for all of us in our day-to-day life, whether it is at work, whether it is with family or friends, or whether it is with seniors, peers, or juniors. When you're having a conversation during a meeting, when you're having a conversation during a review, when you're having a one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-one, uh, there are multiple equations and emotions that run at the moment, which most probably AI has not been able to pick up, which could be, but I think that would require a lot or a large amount of information that has to be fed to the AI over a period of time. But what about emotions? What about those feelings which are coming at the moment? Most probably you're talking to your colleague by saying, hey, you know what? Most probably your numbers are not really great. We feel that there are some areas where you could improve. What is the reaction that you anticipate from the person sitting across the table is unknown. See, for us, for you and me also today to sit across and have a conversation with somebody and say that you really don't know what they're doing. So it depends on your acumen, your ability to be able to understand, have your experience or exposure to be able to respond to it. And not saying that it always goes well. It could go downhill. It could go uphill also. So that is where most probably AI does not really affect. But yet, to bringing it to where and what could be spoken, what could be discussed, what is really the crux and foundation of bringing clarity, both the parties, who are involved in it, AI will come across really well in it. Because there are certain parameters and certain pieces that we all work on. Typically when a psychometric tool is put across to people, it's just to judge a individual between a particular range, of behaviors, of thoughts, of characters, of actions, and so on. And most probably, AI can make it even better, more specific to an individual rather to a set of people. So when you utilize an AI to be able to do that, I think then you've done most probably 40% of your work is done, which usually happens in a conversation, and then you suddenly get back to understanding the situation and then picking it up from there. But AI, I think that till that level, yes, it could do a great job. It could bring you to a very specific point by saying, hey, you know what, Rahul most probably is not assertive. Rahul most probably requires a lot of handholding in the new project that he does. Most probably Rahul, in an underlying way, is having an issue with a very strong team, member of his, who's really great at work, but Rahul is not being able to articulate it to anyone because most probably it's an ego issue, it's a seniority issue, it's a personality issue. So maybe AI can define that. So when a conversation starts, you really have those parameters where you can then quickly, work on it and kind of come to a better result.
In line of the recent examples that you gave about the behavioral challenges that one could face in an organization, what is that one behavior or set of behaviors that you aspire to when it comes to behavioral training?
That's a very nice one. But you know what? I would say that it's about being fungible. It's about being fluidic. Whether you have 25 years of work experience, whether you have 25 days of work experience, it's about being fluidic. Okay, and it's not about being the Gen Z or the Gen Y or the Gen X or anyone as such. Some of us or most of us are also at times very stuck up, and most probably we do not really leverage what we have to be able to do what is expected of us to do. So I would say that one characteristic, that one piece of information or a character that I would like to build within set of people, which I really do, at Tata 1MG, is letting people know that you have to be fungible, you have to be fluidic. Let the situation come across as it is. If you had experience about it, use your experience to come back to a certain level of understanding to it, to be able to respond to that scenario, to be able to work with that particular team, work on that project, or work with a certain individual. And if you don't, be fungible enough to walk up to somebody, or fluidic enough to walk to somebody and say, hey, you know what? I can't understand. I need help. I need assistance. Till here, I've understood. Beyond this, I need help. That breaks barriers through people. That is where the entire ego of me being 25 years old, 22 days old, or 22 months old goes off the shelf, and people open up. And when you automatically have that equation between people, I think information flows. So somebody says, hey, okay, young guy, most probably old, most probably not very good with technology or not very good with all of this. So let's go back and help the gentleman or help the lady. So that opens up. So being fluidic, always. Learning of unlearning and relearning, most critical. Most critical.
Speaking of cultural barriers, have you faced any when it comes to implementing the new change? Uh, like, what about the psychological safety of people? Because a lot has been
Hmm.
written about the great displacement, job collapse, and all of that. So, how do you keep the morale of your people in check in midst of all the changes that are happening around us?
See, this again comes in from the core culture of a business or an organization. Okay, and I'll give you an example of what we do at Tata MG. See, Tata MG, even though runs on the ethos of Tatas, our founders, co-founders, are people who have already imbibed in the system by saying that, you know what, you perform. We understand there are, and we realize that there are scenarios and situations where most probably we will show a blind eye to it, but we know that factually it cannot. For example, it cannot happen today. It can only take 25 days, 30 days, and it has multiple bottlenecks in it. But as a business lead or as somebody who runs the organization, we would want it to be done. We will create an ecosystem where you have all the resources that you require to have to it. But here comes in your individual potential, your acumen to be able to understand what you have at hand, to be able to utilize it. If not, seek assistance, build across further from it, and then deliver to it. But deliver it. At least strive to delivering what as an organization we require. Now, not necessary that the delivery could be 100% accurate. We are saying take that leeway, deliver it. So when it comes to a certain stage, there are other set of people who then most probably can quickly add value to that project and tell you, you know what, you've done a great job till here. Now can you make these tweaks? Because we feel this is where you can actually leverage on it. Make those changes as we tell you, as is, your project runs really well. So that set of culture that we build with people, which gives them the confidence of saying that, you know what, I am not reprimanded, I am not looked down upon, I am not moved from projects because most probably the last time I only did 95%. But I am still included into projects because I thrive to at least achieve that 95%. And not necessarily that everybody does 100% to it. So that psyche that you create
Yeah.
in the mindset of people, it makes them, it creates a stickiness to a brand. It creates a stickiness to the organization. It tells them, not a problem. I will go back again on multiple projects and ensure that I'm thriving hard for it, so that I'm able to perform. And that slowly also helps a person evolve over a period of time because they see multiple scenarios, they see multiple situations, they engage with multiple bottlenecks, and they learn out of it. And that is core. So if that comes in from top down in any organization, I don't think that anybody should be worried about a cultural disparity or a geographical disparity or a disparity within team sizes. No, I don't think that should ever affect.
As a L&D leader, uh, what is that one specific quality or element that a human L&D leader can bring, you're convinced will never ever be replicated by AI? Like, no matter how advanced it gets, we spoke about a lot of things. We spoke about culture and human angle, empathizing with your employees. So, what is that one thing you would say?
One thing that most probably AI will not be able to kind of replace for an L&D leader is about how do you uh, improvise while you're doing a project, all right, or while you're doing a training program. To be very clear, an AI will require a certain amount of facts and figures to be provided. But that instant moment of change that you have to do while you're doing that program with a certain set of, say, leaders, that depends on the equation that you have with the leaders. That depends on the experience that you've had in engaging with those set of leaders in the past or engaging in similar scenarios in the past. And to be able to respond to it in the most amicable way over there at that point of time. because that's a make or break situation. Because once you made that mistake, that leader he's sitting through your program. He's most probably enjoying the tea and the coffee and the cookies that you're giving to him. But his
Yeah.
takeaway has been zero because he stopped listening to you. He's enjoying it. He's enjoying it what you're speaking, but he does not take anything away from you on that particular day. So that I don't think can be replicated by an AI.
Can you recall one instance in your career where your hunch was right against either the top management or the AI system, where you were against the grain and you were proven right, either early on in your career or recently?
I think I'll go back to my shopper stop days when I was revamping an entire career development program called the Baby Kangaroo program. It used to be a 12, 14-day
Okay.
program, 2 weeks. Then it moved and I made it into a boot camp for 32 days. So obviously, operations will come back and tell you, hey, you can't take away my guys away for 32 days. It's about 30, 35 people
Yeah.
going away for 32 days in a different city. Uh, how are we going to manage? So the system at that point of time was very clear by saying that these guys have to be replaced as quickly as possible. And the earlier results from that particular program, when people finished that and went back, most probably was still at scratch level. And that was very, very data oriented. Which obviously then you're looking at sales data, you're looking at attrition data, you're looking at people development data. All those segments of data were picked up, and everybody came back at that point of time. And as a matter of fact, my head of HR came back and told me that, Rahul, you know what? That really won't work because what you're trying to do is a very vague area and space because it speaks more on behavioral aspects rather than on technical pieces. So we changed the entire assessment center approach itself. Was it technical know-how? So am I really great at my understanding of what processes are, what systems are, and how does my business work? And we stopped it at that. Because once they moved into the behavioral aspect, they could not judge that piece. And which was a very individual assessor oriented evaluation. Because see, my individual bias also comes into it. So I said, let us not evaluate that
Yes.
piece. Let us move on till this. Beyond it, what I picked up was the behavioral piece and showed behavioral changes. So how do you make people do an activity multiple times so it becomes a habit? How do you ensure that they're engaging with a particular piece multiple times which becomes a core factor for him or her to be able to execute on a daily basis? And this 32-day program, when people moved out from the first batch and actually walked onto the shop floor, and this guy, rather than being meek, quiet, and sober, walks up to the store head and talks clear numbers, talks clear facts, talks clear customer engagements, talks clear returns, talks about issues, talks about potential, areas that we can actually work upon. But that changed the whole perspective for people to say that, you know what, that was my hunch, and I said I'm going to take a bet on it. For the first initial couple of weeks, I did not get a response to it, but somewhere somebody trickled and somebody triggered it. And then all those store heads started walking back and saying, hey, you know what? What did you guys do? What changed? What happened? And then I kind of got their ears high up in the air, to listen to us by saying, this is what we did. We can do it even better. So that kind of helped me to do it at that point of time. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a very insightful example you gave. We spoke about bias. Uh, has there been an incident in your learning and development career where somebody came up to you and said that, you know what, this sort of learning is not suited to me? Has such issues arisen, and how have you dealt with them if they have?
If you ask this question to any L&D person, he will say yes, every day, 24/7, 365, 1/4. Is because see when you put somebody through a development, when I say see a one-off training program, you go to a seminar, you go to a 2-day program, people are happy about it, they come back and say okay great, most probably I can use some of these things, very nice, thank you so much, and I network with a lot of other people, they kind of use it there. But when you put somebody through a long-term development program, that requires a lot of homework at the back end to be done, which most often, and I'll say I also learned it from the hard way, because initially when I used to do that, I would always think of bigger, greater stuff. I say, oh, I want to do this big program, I want to run it for them, I want to run this. I will do all of these elements in it, which is going to show this kind of an ROI and all of those things. And I realized that, what, the core piece of it is where I did not understand where is this individual right now in a professional space, where is this person in a personal space at that moment. And I need to take both of them together to the next level. And if I'm unable to do that, I've technically made you, or process wise made you, or content wise made you extremely strong. But I have not made you accept that at least 50% of what we're trying to do. So I went back. So I go back to the, to the scratch board where I engage with the individuals on multiple occasions. I speak to them about multiple topics. And once I start understanding where they are vis-a-vis myself and vis-a-vis the organization, are we aligned or misaligned? And then I try and bring that alignment to both of them by saying, this is what I will do for you. Similar program for somebody else is curated very differently for that person that itself. And once that happens, the acceptance is much higher. And the first barrier to crack is obviously acceptance, because then I give my 100%, at least, not 100%, I give my 80% to the program, out of which I at least learn 60%. And that is my change and shift or delta that I show to business and the behavioral change in the individual.
Before you go, Rahul, one piece of advice you would like to give to young professionals who are trying to make an ingress into the HR world, especially at this intersection of technology and changes that are happening around us?
My first advice to the young lot obviously would be stay grounded, have your basics right, because that is what takes you ahead for life. And at this intersection of technology, of the human aspect coming in, technology has to be adopted. It is extremely important because that is the way ahead. I mean, that is how the world is evolving right now. For me, most probably, doing project management in those days was the critical thing for people, for all of us. But today, most probably, it is about getting into AI and understanding how AI really helps you do it. So both have to be balanced. But I would say do not be 100% dependent on AI. The gray matter that we have works on a very different level. Utilize it, utilize AI to leverage on it. So if you say that I perform 100%, use AI to perform 123%. Have that human factor and have the interest or craziness to adopt technology also at whatever level it is and however it is.
Well, that brings an end to our wonderful and insightful conversation with Rahul Nayar. Rahul, thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and thank you for asking me lovely questions. I think you made me go back and think hard about what I could do next.
So those were lovely answers as well. So thank you so much for that. Viewers and listeners who are passionate about modernizing HR, building better teams, you can head over to ValueMatrixTV for more such conversations. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel on social platforms. Thank you for listening to us today at ValueMatrixTV, where we unravel the world of HR as it develops. Goodbye.